Hey, Travis, doing a sound check.
Sounds good. I got you.
Thank you.
Sounded just like George Sleeper.
Sound check from Marcia.
Hi, Marcia.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Michael.
Apparently, we're getting our $2,800
Good.
within 7 days. deposit.
Mhm.
There's a whole bunch, there's a bunch of, stuff. And then, that I'll let you find out. No, you've got one. And the other thing from the city.
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille.
I also got a package from Kohl's. In the mail. I'm sure it's not the whole thing.
Hey, Travis, give me a reminder. Is this a 3-minute or 5-minute public comment commission?
Planning Commission is 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay.
And I just wanted to confirm, I see, it looks like we've got Scott Wall on, one of the applicants tonight. And then I see a Curtis in here. I believe that's probably Curtis Eldred, but I just want to confirm that. We'll go ahead and assume that's probably him.
Is this, here we go. Hi there. Yes, this is Curtis.
Perfect, thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Travis, is Marcia here or are you calling the roll tonight?
Marcia's in here.
Okay. All right, 7 o'clock. Looks like we have a quorum. So let's start. Welcome to the Thursday, May 6th, 2021 regular meeting for the Planning Commission. And I'm going to call the meeting to order. Just a reminder to everybody to mute your mics as much as possible if you're not speaking. It eliminates background noise. And with that, Marcia, if you'll call the roll.
Clark Gruber,
Here,
Larry Heinig,
Here.
Todd Heinrich, Michael Neese,
Here.
Amy Nichols,
Here?
George Sleeper,
Here.
Janice Barney,
Here.
Tim Stegman.
Here. Next up, we'll have approval of the agenda.
this is Clark Gruber. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
George Sleeper, I'll second.
Been moved by Clark, supported by George. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, Marcia, if you'll call the roll.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes,
Heinig,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Item 4, approval of the meeting minutes from the April 1st meeting.
Mr. Chairman, Heinig, I move approval of the minutes of the April 1st, 2021 regular meeting.
Janice, second.
It's been moved by Larry, supported by Janice to approve the minutes of April 1st, 2021. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Marcia, if you'll call the roll again.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
yes,
Heinig,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Brings us to item 5. Interested citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on this agenda. Is there anybody that wishes to speak about items not on tonight's planning commission agenda? Let me know if you see anybody, Travis.
Sorry, anybody that's out there is looking to speak, if you just would hit the raise hand icon. I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. We'll move on to old business then. Item 6, the Yurt Village Ordinance Amendment discussion topic. And who's from staff is going to speak to that?
So this is a continuation of the discussion that we've been having here for the past 2 or 3 meetings with the planning commission regarding the idea of yurts or yurt village type developments. The city was approached toward the end of last year by Mr. Joe Ashton regarding the idea to potentially develop his property into this sort of a development. The zoning ordinance as written right now doesn't really have any way for us to classify this sort of development. And so that's the discussion that we've been having with you all here the past 2 months. At last month's meeting, we sort of used that to gauge interest again in whether or not this was something to continue discussing. The planning commission at that time indicated to us that there was a desire to continue discussing it. And so the past month or so, Brad has taken a look at the Keweenaw County zoning ordinance, which is one that at least gives us something somewhat comparable to look at. As it's stated in the staff report, it's really not an apples to apples comparison because you're talking about a much more rural countywide ordinance versus a much more urban local ordinance. But at least it gives kind of a starting point for the discussion as far as what potential ordinance amendments might look like. So that's what you see in your packet tonight. It gives kind of an idea of, like I said, some definitions and what something might look like going forward. Other than that, I'll just turn it over to Brad if you have anything else to add. And then we'll turn it over to the commission for a discussion.
Thanks, Travis. Yes, what I assembled in this packet are some snippets out of Keweenaw County's zoning ordinance. They have a county-wide zoning ordinance up there because, as Travis said, they are so rural. The cities of Copper Harbor and Copper City do not actually zone themselves. It's a zoning ordinance that covers the entire county. So this was the only county and only location that I did find anything in the state of Michigan that is like this. And as we had noted previously at earlier meetings, we did discuss that, yes, these are items that are allowed to be constructed there. They are allowed to be permanent structures that up there. However, the locations of such of these structures tend to be in resort style areas where they have an outdoor resort, like a ski resort or camping areas, or some sort of like woodland, quaint area. So if you've looked through the packet, the first thing that I cited there was just their general definition of how they define a yurt, just to place it as an actual structure within their ordinance. And they define it again as either being something that is temporary or permanent, depending on the design. And they give the idea here that there must be a minimum square footage size if it's going to be a seasonal single family dwelling, because that's something that they do permit with this style of housing up there, is that if someone would like to erect one of these in one of these zoning districts as a kind of like a cabin or something like that, that they would be able to do so. However, it can't be a small tent-like structure. It must be something that's larger. We all know that yurts are initially are designed to be something that can be put up and taken down. I don't know how quickly, but they're similar to tents, but there are many locations that do have these permanently installed with plumbing and gas and sewer and such piped into them. And that was one of the requirements. As you can see in the definition, it has to be at least 480 square feet in size, and it must meet all sanitary code requirements for septic and water. So it's something that does need to meet certain specifications for any other type of permanent structure. The table down below just kind of shows you how they break apart each one of their different types of housing. And under the temporary dwelling units, RC in their zoning ordinance, if you see where I circled in red on there, RCR, if it was designated as an R item in their zoning ordinance, it was a use by right. As you can see down where it says community residential care facilities and such, you see an R down in quotations there. And RC is something that is permitted, but it's something that you would have to receive basically a special use for. So if a yurt is going to be used in any district anywhere within the county, it has to receive a special use primarily. And any sort of single family type dwelling seasonally, it must also receive a special use and can only be located in those either the resort districts or the very low density agricultural or country estate resident or districts. On the next page, you'll find the definitions, and I won't read through each one of them because I'm sure you all can do that yourself, but it just provides you with how they define the yurt under the seasonal building and structure ordinance there. It has to meet certain requirements. And if it's located someplace, it also has to, be within if it's within 300 feet of any other neighboring dwelling unit, it has to be screened with a buffer. It must meet minimum acreage on properties and et cetera. And then on the next section, it defines more thoroughly how they define a yurt fitting under a temporary dwelling. So that would be something more you would see, I'm sure, like in a resort setting in the woods, where you would use it as kind of like some places out west, I know, have used yurts as a I don't know if you've heard the term glamping, but it's short for glamorous camping. And there's resort facilities that do contain these glamping areas that do utilize yurts as the structures instead of large tents. And then below that, I also pulled out the actual agricultural districts that they can be located within. And if you really look to the two last ones, the resort residential district and the resort service district, those are really the main ones that they're permitted in. And as you can see, those specific zoning districts are designated in very specific areas within the county. So it's not something that you necessarily see all over. In some ways, it does say, yes, you can put them in all districts, but in other ways, it's saying we are concentrating these more specific types of yurts in these specific districts, which have to meet these specific requirements. So as Travis said, we're just using this as kind of a stepping stone to get an idea of how someone else has classified this and what types of zoning districts they have guided this into. And, just to give us a little stepping stone to get talking about it.
Okay, thank you, Travis and Brad. Now for the commissioners, I don't know where you want to start. Maybe a good place to start would be the definition regarding permanent or temporary, or wherever else you want to go with the discussion. I know you've all read the document Brad put together, so feel free. Who wants to go first? George?
Yeah, I guess I still think that there may be a possibility of continuing to move forward and looking at maybe how this might fit into our zoning ordinance. I was wondering if maybe because one of the things I'm worried about is we specify something called the yurt in our zoning ordinance, and then someone else comes along with another idea for some kind of temporary structure, and now we got to add that definition also. I'm wondering if there's a way to make something a little more generic that would still suffice, but would give us a little more flexibility and maybe save us from having to put in another temporary dwelling unit definition later on if someone else comes up with another idea.
Okay, Clark.
Thank you. I think Mike actually had his hand up first.
Fine. Go ahead, Clark.
Okay. I guess we're going with beauty before age. So I guess and I apologize. I did watch, the discussion last week and read through the minutes. Once again, we're putting together a lot of stuff. This is what, our third meeting on something. Is Mr. Ashen even attending our meeting this evening? Do we know if he's here?
I don't think he is.
Okay.
No.
All right. I'm still not sure if I want to go through everything I need to go through to put together, what a yurt would be defined as, unless is he put together and has a site plan for us and paid for the funds for a site plan?
Not at this time, no. We've got his, I guess what I would call kind of a conceptual drawing, and then
Yeah.
some renderings of what he would like the actual structures to look like. And then he submitted some catalog information too.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've seen. I mean, I'm still, I think we're putting a lot of staff time into that when we've got a couple of actual projects coming before us today that I think we really should be concentrating on. You know, to say what a yurt is or a yurt's not, I mean, I'm gonna think of it as a temporary structure. You know, he even states this is gonna be glamping, so that's a campground. So, you know, are we gonna take you know, a currently zoned piece of property that we have and turn it into a campground? You know, I'm not sure if I'm good with that. I think right now it's an R2 piece of property. And all we've been talking about is trying to get, you know, long-term housing in here, and we've got this potential pie in the sky project. But I would certainly think of a yurt as something temporary, and I think Chairman hit it on the head, and so did Travis. If we're going to come up with something, it's going to be applied through the entire city, whether it's out there or somewhere else. So I think of this as, if he's doing something, it's a temporary structure.
Okay, thank you, Clark. We'll do Mike and then Amy.
Well, first, I agree with George. You know, in my day, it was geodesic domes we were trying to put up everywhere. Now we're trying to put up yurts. But it's the same idea. It's just alternate, different types of housing that are certainly different from the norm. To go along with what Clark said, to me, it's always been an issue of keeping the tradition and the character of the neighborhoods. What was interesting about this approach, though, is if you read into it, he's not just talking about yurts. He's talking about putting in possibly a business conference center and using the site for corporate retreats. It seems to leave the commonplace definition of a residence pretty quickly. And I agree with Clark. There's a lot of other things. I got to give Mr. Ashton credit. I do like the way that he's slowly released information to us, showing that I'm sure he's playing the water too. He doesn't want to overinvest before he finds out he can't do it either. So, but at this point, it just doesn't seem worthy of much discussion beyond saying, yeah, good idea, but it doesn't look like it's time in this city. Thanks.
Okay, Amy?
Gentlemen, I agree with both of you, actually all three of you. I struggle, and I have struggled with this project from the beginning, as a start, how much time staff has had to put in this. Thank you for all your hard work, but you just put in hours and hours and hours, and I actually asked how many hours today and got an estimate of 10 to 15, and I with all due respect, I think that's probably low. That they have put in for something without an actual site plan. I don't know that we've spent this much time since I've been on Planning Commission on anything else that didn't already have a site plan attached to it. And so, you know, this little bit of information here and there, yeah, it's kind of teasing and, you know, makes you wonder what he's going to do with it. But at some point, he's going to have to step up and do something with it, or we're just sort of just batting the ball around here and kicking it around. And again, it's still an R2. If you really want us to consider this, you need to step up and do a site plan. Just my 2 cents. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Larry?
Well, we need to decide what we're doing here. I thought we were looking forward at something that was new, something we wanted to decide whether this city was interested in doing, and being ahead of the game and not being reactive to what somebody is proposing. I thought we were looking at, is a yurt something we want in the city? Where would we put it if it was in the city? What zoning districts? Those kind of things, so that we're ready when the site plan comes to us. But if we've already made up our minds that they're temporary, we only want them in certain areas, and we don't have any of those areas now, I agree, we're spinning our wheels. But if we want to be ahead on this and be ready when things come to us, we need to talk about whether a yurt is permanent or temporary, what requirements would have to be put on them, what zoning districts would be appropriate. And that's what I was ready to talk about tonight. But if we're not there, let's stop right now.
And I would agree with you, Larry. This to me is no different than the overlay for the marijuana related businesses. It was something we didn't have on the books. This is a type of dwelling we don't have on the books. So we'll need to address it in some way, shape, or form. And then, I mean, if you look at the piece of property, it's pretty close to the what's now called the preserves at Woodland Harbor. And before that was built, that was a single family farm with a lot of acreage there. And now it's a high density PUD. So just something to keep in mind.
I'm not even looking
Who
at
didn't
a
we
piece
hear
of
from
property.
yet? Janice? Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes, I appreciate it. Looking at the definitions, and I agree that yurt may, there might be something else down the road that would be a temporary structure. So we have to look at it in a larger way when and if we do. But I did notice that the county where Brad did his research, it only has a population of about 2,000. It's one of the least populous counties in our state. And even with that, they really have some restrictions of where this could go. And it appears not necessarily in urban areas as such as the county has. But they look very closely at how their definitions were with the county estate, country estate, with the resort residential, the agriculture, and they were trying to keep the nature of each one of those pieces of or the districts. I think the idea is interesting. And I'm not sure that it belongs in a city. I think if people are interested in doing it, it should be in a less populous area for the experience that they are trying to provide for the individuals, and not, impede upon the privacy or the of their neighbors that are relatively close within the city district. So zoning for me in this is the big one, where if we decide where, and I'm thinking not where a moderate priced housing could go, but more in a rural area.
Now, I think everybody from the commission's had at least one opportunity to speak, right? So would you like to have the public comment at this time on this discussion? Be okay with everybody? Okay. So at this time, if anybody from the public wishes to speak about this, raise your hand and I'll have Travis call on you and you'll have 3 minutes time to comment.
There's two raising.
Okay.
Okay, we've got Soha resident. I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
Hi, Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I applaud Janice for recognizing that this is in a rural setting. It's not really prone to a city. I thought that the only ordinance that would have been found was in Keweenaw, and I'm glad that Brad noted that for that confirmation. It appears that one reason that Ashland is pursuing this is for income because of the high taxes. Sounds like he's more of an outdoors person. The city may want to consider some type of zoning to allow somebody to keep their land natural, especially when it provides erosion control and drainage. He has the creek and the gullies going through it. And with regard to the yurts that he's providing, I mean, they're 24-foot diameter with a 10-foot porch and a 16-foot kitchen bathroom with running water, electricity on a platform. I would say that's really permanent, and that's how it should be addressed if this comes forward. And if it's permanent, it's really short-term rental. And so he's going to have the inspection obligations, hooking up to the sewer water. Because it's for vacation, short-term rental, I don't think he should get any discount for that, hooking up to it. Have to be careful for setbacks with stability of the slope on his property and weight requirements from the yurts and the snow. And with these being really more permanent, but of structures that could easily, potentially relative to a home, be broken into, you have to look at safety, squatters, what is the increased workload on our law enforcement and the neighbors, and with the platform, you don't know what could be living under it, and maintenance. The information that he sent indicates that they have to be cleaned yearly. It will have runoff from whatever material, soap or whatever is used, and that goes right into the creek that empties into Black River, that empties into Lake Michigan, and that would apply to every yurt. And so there's just a lot of things that need to be considered that were not mentioned that I think should be noted if this comes back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we have Jerry, looks like Safe Harbor Board. I'll ask you to unmute.
Actually, this is Jennifer Durkee. I live at 243 Webster Avenue, and I think I've written to most of you in regards to this. I certainly do appreciate city staff's efforts as Mr. Ashen has sort of trickled this project along. I do appreciate also that the city may have to generally address some sort of a yurt development in the future. I appreciate also Brad's efforts in doing some of the research on this. And I think if you do just sort of a cursory search regarding yurts across the whole country, you will find exactly what he found here in Michigan in the UP, and that is that the vast majority of these are in undeveloped, rural, scenic resort type properties. And my position is that this sort of development does not belong in the city, and I'm not going to get off on a tangent about Mr. Ashen, but certainly if his project gains traction, I will have a lot more to add to this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else, Travis?
I don't see anybody else right now. No.
Okay. So we'll go back to the commission. What kind of direction do we want to give staff at this point?
I guess if I had to jump in, Mr. Chairman, I would just say make sure that we, keep a good archive of our notes and just kind of wait and see if something like this comes up. We've got yurts in the area. They're glamping yurts, out on 68th Street. I think that's a great spot for something like that. If somebody wants to finally come to us with a big project, even if they figured out how to make a yurt a long-term resident, a long-term structure. I haven't seen one. I don't think I need to go out and do the research on that. But if someone's got a project like that, would be, even a summer housing for, restaurant people. I mean, I'm game to look at something concrete, but until that happens, I think we just store it away and
okay,
in case we need it again. Thank you though. And
now,
I appreciate all the hours that the staff have put into this.
Now, when I think about this, a yurt, and this kind of sparked my thought process, was reading the language that Brad provided. There was one part in there where they said one yurt on 10-acre or 5-acre or 10-acre parcel. I don't remember now. But it was quite a bit of land just for one yurt with what they were trying to accomplish. And so for the city, I think the first step we would say, would we allow a yurt to be like where a house is on a small lot? And I would think the answer would be no. We look at it as a temporary structure, and we wouldn't let it be put between two homes on the south side of town. I think that would be a fair statement. So then that leads us is the yurt's more of a temporary structure, and it'd be more befitting to, let's say, a resort style atmosphere. And, you know, on the north side for years, they had the main resort house and 10 cabins or 8 cabins or something like that. So I think if we were to go in that direction where say, yeah, yurts could be allowed in a resort type atmosphere, maybe that's the direction we go. Other than that, I don't really see where their place would be within city limits. Mike. On mute.
Just a question, does Mr. Ashen have the right to submit a site plan regardless of what we say tonight?
I would assume so.
Yes, he
Yeah.
does. And you hit it on the head exactly, Mike, earlier when you spoke first, the first time around. He hasn't approached us with anything more engineered because he would have to put a significant amount of money into that to have an engineering crew out there to, you know, get this thing all prepped up and, you know, get all the costs and his money and, you know, all that stuff together. So as many of you have identified, the route we took with him is, okay, right now, this is not something that can be done, period, in the city. So maybe we should look at the zoning first and try and like preemptively look at it on a general basis before we focus specifically on him. And I think he wants to know if this is something that basically the city would entertain him doing versus him going out and spending those thousands of dollars to get this stuff prepped and then come back and find out that nobody would like him to have it in town.
Yeah, I guess would it be helpful to the commission to review the language that relates to like mobile homes and trailers and park models that the city has on the books right now? Mike?
I think it might be, except, you know, again, is it not calling for us to address yurts specifically in addition to mobile homes, in addition to what, I mean, yurts aren't addressed in our ordinances now because they've never come up before, correct?
Yeah.
So maybe it's, so Tim, to your point, maybe we should discuss it and see if we amend it and include yurts.
Right.
In that ordinance.
That's what I was thinking.
I'd be
Who else
for that.
had their hand up? George? Was it? Yeah, go ahead, George.
Yeah, Tim, something you mentioned kind of triggered something in my mind. So on the north side, it seems like there are some areas where there are quote unquote resorts where you have like a main house and cabins. And I kind of see this idea as something along those lines, kind of like a resort. And so I would think it might fit into, and some of those resorts are in residential neighborhoods. Now, so I think there's a possibility something like that might fit in here. But again, until we have something more definite, it's hard to know if it will fit in. And so that's why I'm thinking, you know, something, you know, would a cabin be fitting into our, if there was a proposal for cabins versus yurts, would that fit into our current ordinance, or would we need to change to do something with that?
Good point. Anybody else? Amy?
I have a question more of Brad. And so you found one ordinance about yurts. in the entire state of Michigan. Are we, how many times have yurts been even proposed? Has anybody, did you find any research on that?
I've heard there are some campground style places similar to the one that Tim made reference to up near Traverse City, but there's nothing really specifically designed for a yurt ordinance specifically. It's more an accessory structure like a tent, you know, and that's kind of how they pigeonholed it in, I think, is they just kind of stuck it into their, you know, temporary accessory building type situations where they kind of group it with a bunch of other stuff.
Got it. Thank you.
And what year was that passed, Brad?
This
Remember?
ordinance here,
Yes.
I'm not sure offhand.
Oh.
I can look right now. Hold on.
Okay. I'm asking that because I would guess it's relatively recent. And then we need to wrap this discussion up and get going to our next item. So I think what I'm hearing is let's look at our other ordinance for the structures like I mentioned, see what they say, and you know, whether you insert the word yurt into an existing ordinance, or if we come up with a scenario where, yeah, you can have a yurt if you have X amount of acreage and it's a resort style development. It could be something along those lines for sure.
Yeah, Tim, it looks like it was passed in 2017.
Okay, yeah, not that old. All right. Any other comments? Agree, disagree with what I'm pointing out to staff? Thumbs up, okay. All right. Let's move on to item 7, which is something we can take some action on. Text amendments. We're referring to section 1404 and 1405.3. And you want to give us a little rundown on that, Travis?
Yep, so we discussed these last month with you, just to get some feedback. We started the discussion the month before that on items that the master plan had identified as objectives that to be addressed during the life of this current master plan. So part of that is these first 2 objectives that we have that we've looked at with regard to the site plan review process. The ordinance language that we brought to you last month has been updated slightly for this month's consideration. The objectives have to do with when an environmental impact statement would be required as part of the site plan review process. And then also an item requiring the inclusion of both regulated and unregulated wetlands on site plans to be reviewed by the commission. So this is the language as it was discussed last month with the recommendations that were made. Larry, I know you had another item that you were wondering about, and you sent me some proposed language, but I felt like it'd be better maybe just to have you kind of speak to what you were thinking. So.
Yes, what I had, Travis, is what I spoke about last week, just a little reorganization in the 2 sections that would separate when an environmental impact study might be required from what it is and how it's done. I would propose that section 1405.316 be the section that says when an environmental study might be required. And so I would have it read this way. The Planning Commission may require an environmental impact study, EIS, for any residential, commercial, or industrial development that is 5 acres or larger in an area, or contains a structure of 85,000 square feet or greater. See section 1718 environmental impact study. And then I would have section 1718 read this way: environmental impact study. The Planning Commission may require an environmental impact study. These studies shall be paid for by the applicant using a professional environmental engineer or professional consultant of their choice. An EIS prepared for another agency may be acceptable if the study adequately analyzes the following items, and then A through E as enumerated in the text that was provided in our packet. Exactly the same wordings that are there now, nothing new, just a little reorganization. I think this follows better the way our ordinance is used by developers and property owners.
Okay. Any comments on what Larry's proposing? I think it's worthwhile.
And I believe, and Brad, you might be able to help on this, if, I believe you can still take the vote on that as he stated it here tonight. Obviously, it's still gonna go to the city council for a first reading and then for consideration of approval. So it's got 2 more meetings at that level as well, but I believe we can still work with what we have here, just with the amendment that Larry's suggesting, if that's what the planning commission would like to see.
Here is Nick to give us some comment.
I was just gonna say, I was a
I'm always
perfect
concerned
guy
when-
right there.
Yeah, I agree with what Travis said. If you'd like to adopt it as amended by Larry, you can just make a motion to say as amended on the record. Assuming we have good minutes, we can prepare a text draft to take to the council reflecting that.
Okay, so that's the setup we're going to consider, but we're gonna hold a public hearing tonight too. So Nick, should we do the motion for that before we have the public hearing or after?
You can do it either way you want. It might make sense to do it before, so that if the public has any comments on that change, they can make those.
That's what I was thinking. Yep. Okay, so unless, I see Marcia has her hand up, is that significant or?
Yes, I have a question about what Nick said about the minutes, because I was unable to catch all of what Larry said. However, if you could email me that language, then that would be helpful and I could put it in the minutes.
Okay,
And I've got, Larry emailed me basically that, so I have it here. So I can send that to you. The recording on this is going to, so we'll have the video to go back to as well, so.
Awesome, thank you.
okay, so Larry's proposing that just some shuffling of the arrangement, not language, is correct, Larry?
That's correct.
Okay, that way everybody's clear. Anybody have any questions? And if not, Mike, you have your hand up? Okay. So that's all clear. So what I'll do is I'll first entertain a motion to approve. We'll get it supported. And then I think what we'll do at that point is hold on for a moment and if, unless there's any further board discussion on that motion. If there isn't, then prior to taking the vote, we'll go into the public hearing. So we'll lay that motion on the table temporarily. Is that clear? Everybody follow? Okay. So Larry, since you were the instrument of some reshuffling, why don't you make the motion?
I'd be happy to. I move approval of the text amendments to section 1405.316 and section 1718 as just read into the record.
Okay,
And this is Clark. I will second.
Okay. So it's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion by the commission? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna lay the motion aside for the moment, and then we'll do the public hearing. So I'll need a motion for that.
Mr.
Chairman, this is Clark.
Heinig, I move approval. I move we open the public hearing.
Okay, Clark supports.
I will second.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Seeing none. Marcia, you'll call the roll to open the public hearing.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Barney.
Yes.
Barney?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I vote yes. Public hearing's open. Okay, we have two hands up. Let's start with Nancy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Nancy Nat. I guess I have to give my address and all that. 125 Elkenberg, 15-year tax-paying resident here at the factory condominiums. And my question is, I was able to listen to a lot of the Overton committee evaluation, and I was listening to the one where the committee was interviewing the 3 different developments. And I remember Tim asking each developer if they would still be interested in pursuing the project if it was reduced by 50%. And I was really happy that he asked that question. And each developer responded that yes, they would be able and be happy to do that. My question to the Planning Commission is this: will you be requesting that in your recommendations to Habitat? And I also have another comment that I agree with Mike's statement from earlier, that keeping the character and tradition in our neighborhoods is something that we should strive for, which is why I'm requesting this. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Before we do the next one, Travis, just do a recap of the section text amendments we're doing right now, please.
Yeah, so the discussion right now is on text amendments to the site plan approval process regarding the consideration and classification of regulated and unregulated wetlands when it comes to the site plan approval process. And then as well, the the need for an environmental impact statement in terms of when those are required as part of an approval process. So those are the topics of the public hearing at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's no problem.
I'll unmute.
And then I think, just as a reminder, Nancy, that's what you said would be appropriate for the items not on our agenda. And none of the Overton information is on our agenda. So next time, that's when you need to speak up.
But we heard you this time, so it's in the record, so that's okay. Soha resident, name and address, please, unmute.
Yep, Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. So with regard to this, it talks about a structure of 85,000 square feet. So that's a single structure. So we're talking planned unit development. It's not a cumulative volume of structures. Just wanted to clarify. And then with regard to the part may be acceptable if the study adequately analyzes the following. So I didn't know, did you want, should it say analyzes at least the following? And also it's referring to a report that's already been prepared. So shouldn't it say adequately analyzed? Shouldn't that be past tense? And I didn't know, there does not appear to be any time qualification for when that previously prepared EIS was done. It seems like that might be beneficial because if it's old, stale, it may not be pertinent. And with regard to FortiPod, you know, it talks about residential, commercial, industrial. So what about a pod for a resort village that might have yurts and in an environmentally sensitive area? So just wasn't sure if residential, commercial, and industrial was too restrictive. It needed to be broader. And with regard to floodplains, it talks about wetlands and similar water courses, drainage systems, etc. I didn't know why systems was included. Drainage systems, that seems more man-made, and I didn't know if you'd want it more natural because of the introduction. And I don't see topography and natural drainage listed. And with regard to 1405, I didn't quite understand. The original had natural features included. It's open-ended. So I didn't understand why wetlands was specifically added, why it wouldn't fall under that already. And I found there was one other, and I've not gone completely down my list. That was it. So with residential, there was talk about include solid waste and any environmental hazardous waste disposal. Shouldn't that be and or versus and? Because I'm not sure environmentally hazardous waste disposal would be pertinent for residential. I think that was it.
Okay, thank you. Very good point. All right. We have one more. Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Beck, 879 Monroe Boulevard. And I'm not really clear on this, I'll be honest. So this could be a really stupid question, but I am wondering, it says that you can request a study. Wouldn't you have to check for contamination? Like before you build on any, land that has a factory or anything like that? That's really my only question.
Okay, thank you.
I was hoping for an answer.
Well, we'll get to that once we close the public hearing.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else, Travis?
Nope, that's all we've got.
Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
This is Clark. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Janice, I support.
Been moved by Clark, supported by Janice. Any other discussion to close the public hearing? Seeing none, roll call please, Marcia.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Okay, so we'll pick up the motion that we laid on the table at this time. And you have heard some public comments, and I think they were excellent comments. And so are there some considerations you want to do to the original motion? And also the last speaker had a question about, maybe Brad, you're the best one to answer that. Brad or Travis?
Typically, when any form of development takes place on a site, especially in a former industrial site or a brown site, you are required by law to go through a phase 1 and phase 2 environmental analysis. And Nick may know a little bit about the actual legal definitions, but it's something that is required.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Brad. I did like the one comment, especially regarding time qualification. What do you guys think of that one? I guess as an expiration date, I guess is a way to look at it for certain reporters. That already part of it. I didn't think.
Heineck here.
Yeah,
Uh,
Larry.
The statement that's proposed is an acceptable study adequately analyzing. Anything that's out of date is not acceptable and is not adequately analyzing the subject matter. I think that's sufficient wording.
I would agree. I would agree. Very good.
I have one further question. I believe it's normal for our attorney to look over these wordings of texts before they are approved by a city council, so that we do have appropriate wording that's enforceable. Is that correct?
Yes, I typically do. I hadn't looked at this one before tonight's meeting. I've been reading over it as you're talking to it. It looks pretty good, but I'll look at it again before it goes to city council.
Okay. Any further discussions? Any motions to amend? Okay, seeing none, we'll entertain the original motion that we laid on the table. So with that, Marcia, you call the roll.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Now we're on to new business. Item 8 is in reference to 570 Broadway Street, which is a special land use application as well as a public hearing.
Yep, so this is a proposal that's been brought to the city by Mr. Curtis Eldred. He's here tonight to speak to the commission. His idea is to take this piece of property, which formerly functioned as a restaurant, and use it as now a drive-through restaurant establishment. The property in question consists of 2 parcels. The main one is the parcel that has the building on it right now, and then immediately adjacent to that is the parking lot. Now that parking lot is kind of split between that building and the Apple Insurance building right next to it. However, the vast majority of that lot lies in the parcel that is currently owned by QQS Real Estate and is for sale. The applicant's intent is to purchase both parcels and then use that again as a drive-through location. We felt it was, although the zoning ordinance kind of calls for special use application and a site plan review to happen at the same time, we felt like because Mr. Eldred does not yet own the property and is still looking at what his options are, that it made more sense right now to bring this to the planning commission in a little bit more of a conceptual phase and have the discussion on whether or not the special use can be permitted. And then if the planning commission were to permit the special use at that point, then Mr. Eldred would be able to go forward with a more formal site plan, which would be brought back at a later date.
Okay. Does he would want to talk about what his plans are right now, Travis?
Yep, he's here, and Curtis, I've made you a co-host, so you should be able to speak.
Okay.
I think right here I am. You guys are all able to hear me and this is working good?
Yes, Curtis.
Fantastic. Nice to see you guys. Thank you. So currently we do business in Paula and we've had a restaurant for 3 years here. We're very familiar with South Haven. I went to school in Bangor, so we appreciate the town, and we're very excited to do business in this area if we can. And we see the building. It's a very big kitchen. The building is built. We know it was built for a pizza place, and one of my problems is we have to be able to get food out quickly in order for us to. Well, you guys understand. What I have done is we've changed I have a whole new menu that will be better set up for fast food. Right now, we are operating as fast food, but we do a lot of curbside carryout, a lot of delivery, and then we have a takeout. Dine-in is not a thing right now, and we've completely evolved to fill that model. And now we see this location here, and we see it's adjacent to the Burger King, and some other things that we think it would work very well for this model we have now. Our restaurant's called Taco Cat. It's going to stay the same name. And why that's relevant is, I guess I'm just trying to say that we've definitely thought the direction through, and our ability to get the food out fast is going to be pretty important for us to be in such a high profile area. It looks high profile to us just because it's close to Burger King and those other nice places. From my perspective, it's a really cool idea and a great concept. I'm proud of me and my team for building it, and we'd like to place it in here, and we think it'd work well. And I think all that rambling before was just to kind of tell you we do think it would work well. And that's basically, besides the fact that we love the area and we're looking at making a move and we'd like it to be there. That's what we're up to at this point.
Okay. Well, thank you, Curtis. And, stay on the line here in case anybody has any questions for you. But I'm sure with what we've learned anything in the last year is you have to be able to deliver product in a different way than we have previously. And this commission is definitely looking at how to facilitate that. So with that, are there any questions regarding the staff report, anything like that, or can we move into a motion?
I would like to hear the staff report on that, because I want to know if we go with a special use permit and it goes with the property, and I hope not. I think Curtis has a product and a desire to go forward with this. If it went with the property and then unfortunately something were to happen and he was unable to get it, then it sticks with the property, correct?
Or it could be conditional, couldn't it?
Could we make it conditional?
Yes, special uses you can make reasonably conditional.
Reasonably conditional, at least to get started here for.
That's what it says in the law.
Yeah, for Curtis. Okay, thank you.
Mike, you have your hand up.
Yes, with the staff report, was Curtis made aware of the correspondence to the planning commission that we received after the report was prepared from the neighbor?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up after you asked questions about what was presented, and I know we did have a communication from I assume it was the neighbor adjacent.
I think it's the neighbor directly west of the property. I think there's only one residence. The east and the north and the south borders are businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the west boundary that has a residence in. And my question was Curtis made aware of those exceptions that were presented by that resident?
I had not yet. I can get him those after the meeting's over here.
So I think that's an important consideration, Curtis, to see those exceptions that the resident listed. To me, they didn't seem like anything that couldn't be worked out, but certainly things you should be aware of.
I was on that line of thinking, there is a fence currently, right, that runs the whole length of the west end of that property, right?
It wasn't clear to me in reading the note that there was.
There's a significant amount of vegetation certainly in there. I don't think there's a fence that I can see that's visible. I mean, I may have to go back in there a little deeper and see. I mean, it's pretty heavily green. I think it's probably something worth going back to look at to see if there is actually a fence back somewhere.
Yeah, I could see where neighbor would be concerned because with the drive-through, does it close at 11 or 2 in the morning or some other time? And I could see where maybe lights, especially if it's a green fence that is deciduous and non-evergreen in the winter months when the leaves are gone, that may be an issue. I don't know. Larry.
Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners, I think we need to, as we're evaluating some of these issues, need to separate those issues that could be addressed at site plan review from those that are relevant to the special use that's being requested. And I think screening and fencing is probably something that can be an issue for site plan review and not at this time. So not that we don't need to recognize it now, but the solution is not going to come to us until we get to site plans.
Very true, Larry. Very true. Okay, so what do you guys want to do? Brad.
Yeah, I just want to reconfirm to everyone that the special use request is basically just the ability to make this a drive-through restaurant. It's already permitted to be a restaurant, and it has been in the past. It's just to basically install a drive-through window. That's all.
Mm-hmm. All right. So unless anybody has anything further to say about this request, I guess we can do the public hearing. Janice?
Yes, I hear what you're saying regarding not making those kinds of decisions until we have the site plan available to us. However, I'm worried about the traffic piece and the flow of traffic. And if we say, okay, a drive-through is fine for this area, now, can we go back then and look, well, where will the driveways be? What will the queuing look like? How does the noise permeate the neighborhood? I mean, is that does that come afterwards or before we say, okay, a drive-in is okay for this use?
Good question. So why don't you give Travis, Brad, why don't you give the commission like the rundown? So let's say this idea of a drive-through right now is approved. So that means we're on the hook to allow a drive-through at that property, correct? Contingent on site plan approval.
Contingent, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, site plan approval. And then if you chose to additionally add that condition where the special use was permitted essentially to this person, to this idea here, you would not have wed yourself then to this being a drive-through into perpetuity for whoever wants to come in and use it. So yes, I mean that an approval tonight would then give him kind of the green light then to go ahead and start developing his site plan in such a way that he would meet whatever requirements you're going to be looking for at that time, as far as providing adequate screening for neighboring residential parcels, and like I said, lighting, whatever other concerns that the planning commission might have.
So if a site plan is submitted, this commission couldn't turn around and say, you know what, after looking at this, we don't think drive-through is a good idea. That wouldn't work, would it?
I mean, you couldn't say that it couldn't be, I guess, rejected due to the fact that it was a drive-through, because you would have already granted that use, but you could deny the site plan if the site plan didn't adequately meet everything that you all need to see.
Okay. Does that answer what you were saying?
And most importantly, the requirements of the ordinance when it comes to site plan review.
Okay, does that answer what you were asking, Janice?
Yes, to some degree.
Okay. Michael, you have your hand up?
Yeah, it's just a timing thing for me, and I understand what Larry's saying, but to give Curtis the best chance to bring a site plan to us that best meets our requirements, I don't think there's anything wrong with raising some of these issues up front to have and be thinking about. Instead of waiting for him to bring a site plan, and then we say, oh no, we don't like the traffic pattern, or oh no, there's got to be a fence there. So I think it's just good business to let Curtis have as much information as we have available to us on what we'd be looking for site plan approval, if we know that at this point.
Yes, being upfront is always the best policy. Okay, anybody else? So I kind of like how we did the public hearing last time. I like having the motion, so anybody that wishes to speak about it and from the public knows exactly what the motion is. So I think we'll keep going with that track.
Would this be a minute that I could say something?
Sure, Curtis.
Oh, thank you. I want to make sure I'm doing it at the right time. I didn't hear about the letter from the neighbor. We're very happy to help anything that we can. We want the place to look good. We really want it to fit in too. And then secondly, I did provide a drawing. I did myself. I did provide a site plan. I think that's what a site plan is. And it has a map and it shows viewing and it shows direction on it. Travis and Brad both helped me with that. They wanted to make sure that it would fit in just for Department of Transportation. So we do we do have that available. I have it with me here. I didn't know if anybody did get
your drawing is in our packet.
Well, I didn't know if that was or not. So
yeah, it is.
That's one of the things we did work on, and I didn't know if that was relevant at this point or not. Okay.
Yep, we've got it. All good.
Thank you.
Janice?
Just one other comment. I don't know how long this will last, but the parking garage for the school buses was right across the street from this. So as far as the entrance or exit to a drive-in would be, or drive-through should be considered as well.
Yeah, just on a side note, has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight. With all the schools nowhere near the bus garage, I don't know why that's still there. The amount of fuel that's wasted having to leave that bus garage to go get to one of the schools has to be enormous. But here nor there. So
Mr. Chair, as
yes.
part of the bond, the millage that just passed, the plan is to move all of that out to the armory from what I heard. So it won't be there forever.
That's good. That was what I suggested 10 years ago. Glad to see they're finally thinking about it. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. Is there a motion for 570 Broadway Street special land use application?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would definitely offer that motion. I want to make sure how would I best make that conditional? And I'm just looking for direction there because we had mentioned if we do this, and the goal is, for Curtis to go forward with the project, and then if something were to happen, and someone else wants something different, we've got this thing out there that's going to go with the land.
Yeah, I guess my suggestion, if the desire of the planning commission, would be to use the two bullet points under the recommendation section in the staff report, and then a third that would condition it to this prospective owner or prospective developer of the property.
Okay,
Yeah, Clark, and I would guess that'd be no different than the one-time liquor licenses that are address and applicant specific. So, you know how those work. If somebody from XYZ company and their name is, I don't know, just make up John Doe, they pay their 20,000, get that liquor license, and then they decide to sell the business, that liquor license is dissolved. You know, it's not one of the class A ones that can be shifted around.
all right.
I would say condition on approval of a site plan consistent with the proposal submitted in the packet or something like that, just to make clear that the special use is initially tied to this property, but if this business, 10 years down the road after they've been operating with the site plan that's been approved, wants to sell it to a new owner with the exact same setup, that should run with the land at that point. Just
Should
wanna-
run the land at that point. Okay. Then I guess, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the proposed special land use subject to the conditions 1 and 2 from our packet, and a third additional one contingent upon the owner getting approval of the site plan.
That's good.
Okay. I like it. Is there support?
George
This is
Sleeper,
Amy.
second.
Okay, George Sleeper supported. And now, like we did previously, we'll lay the motion and second on the table. And then we'll open a public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. This is
I'll
Clark.
second it. Nice.
Been moved by Clark, supported by Mike to open a public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do the roll call.
Gruber,
Yes,
Heinig,
Yes,
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes,
Sleeper,
Yes,
Barney,
Yes,
Stegman.
Yes. Okay, the public hearing's open and I see we have one hand, Corky Ingersoll. So if you'll unmute, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I guess looking over the site plan, my name is Corky Ingersoll. I'm from 536 Green Street. We're right next to the school administration building. First off, I would like to address the bus garage. What I hear is going to be at least 2 years. So, you know, it's a consideration here. I just think that we, in general, that we haven't really considered the congestion at the intersection of Broadway and Green Street. And not only do we have the buses, of course, those are usually at discrete times, but if you look at Green Street, it's more heavily trafficked than a lot of other streets because it's the first cut through between Center and Broadway, west of the high school, of the school, elementary school. So that's about a half mile there. So everybody tends to come down Green Street. The second is that they really don't pay much attention to how fast they're going. This is a really racetrack going out there. And it just makes the intersection there that much worse. Also, we're showing 2 lanes of traffic, 27-foot cut out for exiting onto Green Street. It won't support 2 lanes, even if one is forced to turn right and the other is supposed to turn left. I just think that if there's any way that we can take that exit off of Green Street for those reasons, I think I would certainly think it would be very prudent to do so. And the reason I'm bringing it up now instead of site plan approval is certainly not allowing an exit onto Green Street would intimately affect the site plan. So I might as well, if there's going to be an objection, I thought I'd better bring it up now. So, well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Corky. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? I don't see anybody. Do you, Travis?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is George Sleeper. I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I think I support.
It's been moved by George, supported by Larry to close public hearings. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, Marcia, please call the roll.
Barney,
Yes,
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes,
Heinrich. I'm sorry, Heinrich isn't here. Nice,
Yes.
Nichols,
yes,
Sleeper,
Yes.
Stagman.
Yes. Okay, public hearing's closed, so we're back to the motion that Clark made and that was supported. Is there any additional discussion on that item? Yes, Janice.
I just want to say I support what Corky says regarding the traffic piece and the congestion. And I'm a little concerned that we're putting the we're putting the cart before the horse, because we're not looking carefully at the impact on Broadway, and then also the congestion that can possibly happen on Green Street. So I am hoping that that's going to be a consideration, and we are not tying ourselves to saying, yes, there can be a drive-in or a drive-through if indeed the traffic congestion or the traffic problems surface in this area. And what I'm hearing from Nick and others is that we are just saying, yes, we can have a drive-through. However, it is contingent on looking at the traffic and the possible problems that may create for that area. So before I say yes to this, I want to make sure that could be addressed at that time.
Nick or Travis, do you want to address Janice's question?
Yeah, so I think, and I'll just give you a little bit of background on why that right now his concept has it exiting out onto Green Street. Brad and I had discussed this with him and kind of gone through what could potentially work at this location. The issue with those two ingress and egress points onto Broadway is the fact likely that the road commission is not going to look fondly on that. There's not much separation between those two. I'm going to say roughly 80 to 100 feet of separation between those 2 points. And in terms of safety, the likelihood of them being okay with that, we didn't feel was great. And so we felt the best way for him to draw up his plan was to use that exit onto Green Street, and then of course have customers, I would assume the majority, flow back onto Broadway through Green Street, and thus not having that extra access point onto Broadway. So just to give a little bit of background on why that's drawn up the way it is right now. But to Janice, to your question, that would all have to be discussed during the site plan approval process, because again, this is not a final site plan. That's something that the planning commission can look at, and the planning commission can request a traffic study as well as a part of that process. So.
And can I jump in, Travis, here also? During site plan review, this is on Broadway, which is a state road. And therefore it falls under jurisdiction not of the city of South Haven, but under the state of Michigan through the County Road Commission. And the County Road Commission demands or requires traffic count study for every application that's applied for basically an access permit on their roadway. So they review every single one of these. So Mr. Or Curtis's engineer team, when they design the site plan and design this, will have to submit that information to the County Road Commission. And it will, there are metrics out there that provide very accurate counts at the amount of traffic that will flow in and out for a type of use at a certain location. And they have all the current road count, all of that stuff anyways on file. So the county engineers will be working with the applicant's engineering team on this during the site plan review process, and it is contingent upon their approval. And as Travis said, and this is a difficult location, and it's because of the location of the building itself. You can't have the traditional drive-through window on, in this case, the south side of the building, because there isn't enough room to have a loop around driveway coming that way. And therefore, if there was even enough room there, the cars would be exiting out onto Broadway immediately at the intersection. And the road commission will never approve that. So we discussed with him that the best option going forward for this preliminary conceptual is to close off that access point and then utilize the most northerly point that's off of Broadway, and then possibly use the Green Street access and use it as like a one-way direction.
I hear what you say. When you turn right on Green Street, though, you will be turning right and hitting that exit from the driveway will go. It's very close to Broadway. When you turn right, because I drive this all the time, and so when you turn right, there would be a car coming out of that exit, and I could see that as being potentially dangerous.
Yep, it's all something we take a look at, Janice, during site plan review for traffic flow.
Or Brad and Travis, just on the same point, there is there was a restaurant. Originally, I think it was the Chicken Coop, then it was something else more recently, but where's the ingress and egress for that property? Isn't it on Green Street as well?
Right now, there's all three right now are open.
Yeah.
The two on Broadway are both open. And then there is also the curb cut over onto Green Street. So they're crumbled. They're not in great condition right now.
Yeah.
Certainly, I would think some work is going to have to be done before they're anywhere near being really usable again on a regular basis. But they are all three open right now.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Everybody's familiar with the motion that we had laid on the table that Clark made. We don't need to repeat it, right? Okay. So with that, Marcia, if you'd please call the roll.
Schaefer,
George, was it?
Yes, sorry.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heineck,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Okay, well, look forward to seeing your plans, Curtis.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, guys. We're all set.
All right.
Take care.
Next up, item 9 under new business is 160 Veterans Boulevard, special land use application, public hearing. Travis?
Yep. So this is a proposal being brought forth by Mr. Scott Wall of New Age Laboratories. Mr. Wall is proposing expanding what his services currently are to include medical marijuana safety compliance facilities. This is something that the Planning Commission looked at in 2019, and the City Council approved This is currently the only marijuana facility that is allowed within the city. The city council approved a medical marijuana overlay district that includes the area where 160 Veterans Boulevard lies. And so Mr. Wall is looking at doing an addition to his currently existing building, and then using that as the new lab space and office space for his testing facility. Mr. Wall is here tonight to talk about the project and answer any questions from the Planning Commission, and the city attorney is obviously on the call as well.
Okay. Oh, I guess before we get any commissioner comments, is there anything you'd like to say, Mr. Wall?
I don't think so at this time. Appreciate you guys taking the time to take a look at this application. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners, any questions about this special land use application? For me, when I'm looking at the recommendations, my question is item 3 and 4. 3 being the applicant shall submit all site plan materials as determined necessary by the zoning administrator and building inspector for building addition construction. And the applicant supplies any other plans or documents deemed necessary by zoning administrator, city engineer, any other city or county staff. I'm just curious why we have that as open-ended part of this, and what's expected that's going to come out that we can't review tonight?
Basically, Tim, the reason I put those in, I left those open-ended, was that when Mr. Wall does bring his construction documents in, that we will be reviewing them in zoning as well, for that, just to make sure everything is the way that it was presented here, and work with the building team basically to make sure that everything checks out the way it's supposed to. In zoning, we want to make sure that the proposals the proposal for the construction actually meets what our ordinance requires, and I'll make sure that all the licensing and everything is done. From what I know, Mr. Wall has achieved licensing from LARA with the state of Michigan, and has submitted his registration fees with the city. He does have to go through a further registration process, and I believe Nick probably knows more about that with the city. So I wanted to make sure that we include all city staff, to include like the city clerk, to make sure that all of that stuff is completed before we end up issuing any sort of occupancy or anything like that for this type of project.
Okay, thank you, Brad. All right, anybody from the commission? George?
So I guess I'm kind of confused now. So will this be coming back to Planning Commission, similar to the previous item on the agenda, for a site plan review, or is that only if it needs a site plan review?
No, we've done the site plan review here with the information that was provided. It's sufficient for the addition that he's putting on the back of his building. And he has provided some diagrams with that, and we've done the calculations on the aerials for the actual size of the parcels and setbacks and those sorts of things. So we have done a site plan review on this project as presented. We just wanted to make sure that all of that is the way it is when it's actually being, the actual construction documents show up at City Hall.
Anybody else? No? If not, then entertain a motion for this special land use application. And like before, if we get the motion, we'll lay it on the table, then we'll open the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that the proposed special land use be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in the staff report, conditions 1 through 4.
This is Janice, I support.
Been moved by Mike, supported by Janice. Any other discussion? Well, yes, we will have more discussion. So that's the motion. We'll lay that on the table and now entertain the motion, open the public hearing.
It's George Sleeper, make a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Nice, I support.
Been moved by George, supported by Mike to open the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Marcia, if you please call the roll.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes,
Gruber,
Yes,
Heinig,
yes,
Nice,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes, public hearing is open. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak about the special land use application for 160 Veterans Boulevard?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, we'll give it a couple more seconds. I just never know what the delay is. Okay, I don't see any. Do you, Travis?
Nope.
Okay, I'll
Mr.
entertain a
Chairman.
motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing for 160 Veterans Boulevard.
this is Clark. I will second.
Been moved by Larry, supported by Clark to close the public hearing. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, Marcia, please call the roll again.
Nice,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
yes,
Gruber,
Yes,
Heinig,
Yes,
Stegman.
Yes. Okay, public hearing's closed. We'll pick up the motion to approve the special land use application with items 1 through 4 that was made. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Marcia, please, oh, go ahead, George.
Well, I was just gonna say, I don't have any questions because I thought the staff report and the information from the applicant were very good.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, so we'll be voting on the 160 Veterans Boulevard Special Land Use Application items 1 through 4 that were included with the staff report. Marcia, if you please call the roll.
Nice,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
yes,
Gruber,
yes,
Heinig,
yes,
Stegman.
Yes. All right, there you go, Mr. Wall.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time tonight, guys.
Okay, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next up, new business, item 10, Sherman Hills discussion topic. Who's heading that one up?
I could, yeah, sorry, Travis, I jumped in the way. I can start off for him.
Okay.
What we're doing is kind of reopening the Sherman Hills discussion once again. There is a developer currently right now that is looking at that project. You all know that project has been sitting idle for the last 15 to 20 years. It was caught up in a lot of red tape for lots of different reasons. And the state of Michigan actually approached, I should say, placed what they call conservation easements on top of this property, which actually overlays the back half of the footprints of the home sites on this property, therefore preventing basically any sort of construction. And from what we gather from the applicant when he spoke with the state of Michigan, is that this was done by the state of Michigan on purpose. It was done to prevent any sort of development from happening because there was so much litigation going on between all the parties involved. The applicant contacted Travis and myself a couple weeks ago, and his request was, and also just to familiarize yourself, familiarize you all with this. This is a proposal presently, it was initially a proposal for a townhome style development, I believe, of about 175 units. The applicant that currently has it now was going to, that PUD expired because nothing really had taken place on it. So he was going to have to refile a new PUD application. And it's kind of a mix because he had to pick this one up at the same time. But he's planning on following as much as he can the existing, the existing features of the development, except that the homes themselves that are being proposed now are modular manufactured homes. So I believe Travis has seen some sort of, kind of a showing or whatever, a concept. Travis, have you seen it? I know Kate has, about what this developer was initially thinking, and he had lowered the density down to about 150 units. He called us back a couple weeks ago, and now he's down to 130 units. And the infrastructure that's currently there, he's planning on obviously keeping the road network as designed. The water and sewer that is in there that was apparently full of material that had settled back into it because it was not completed in construction, and all of that, and it had been very costly for him to do so. He spoke with us because he wanted to judge the planning commission's or the city's feelings on potentially moving the sites, which currently are set back at 25 feet from the front yard line. And on all sites, that was one of the PUD requirements, moving that footprint forward by 7 feet. So he would end up to 18 feet setback. Therefore, basically, these sites then would be outside of that easement that the state of Michigan had placed on it. The reason he did this is because he contacted the state of Michigan, and the state said, yes, we can remove the easements, but it's going to be a 12 to 18 month process with lots of forms and committees and stuff like that to go through. And he thought that possibly altering it and moving the buildings closer to the road may be an easier solution. So he wanted to judge the cities and you all as a planning commissions, what your feelings were about that. One of his ideas that he had proposed is, if you remember, some of you may remember, the original proposal contained a marina or some sort of boat area located on the Black River in the wetland area on the north side. That is not going to be developed at this site. However, he is proposing installing some sort of canoe kayak launch facility there. That all has been placed under an easement, basically a natural resource easement as well by the state of Michigan, and therefore cannot be developed. So that's almost the north half of this property. He would like to obviously have his residents that live there to use this, but he's willing to offer public access to this as well, so that the general community can use this site as well and paddle downstream. So those are basically the most recent conversations that we've had about this site. His feelings of this were, he's kind of at that break point now where he can't trim his developments down any further. And if he continues to fight with the state for another 12 to 18 months, that he's basically going to end up pulling the plug on the project and walking away. And it may sit dormant there for, how many more years, we don't know. So Travis and I thought it would be something just to bring to you all, just to keep you aware of what's going on and possibly start a discussion about what your feelings are for something like that. Again, he does have to propose a new PUD, but he did, when you do that, you take on a PUD as well. So he's kind of like he's taking on the old one, and it's kind of being The new one will have the old one's concepts in there, but it's going to be altered around a little bit. But he's stuck with what's there kind of as is right now.
Well, it kind of brings us full circle back to the yurt discussion, because the ordinances we're going to be looking at will probably apply to the housing type change you just mentioned, correct?
I am not exactly 100% sure, and we could do that. We could, if you all would like, we could see if I can track that information down that we received from him, just to maybe provide you to see what his proposal was initially to us about a year ago when he came to the city and discussed it. What he describes them is a manufactured modular home system. Effectively, however, this is what I know it's not quite as PC as people like use nowadays, but it's the same sort of trailer park model that you see for a typical mobile home trailer park, whereas the residents who live here don't own the land. They lease the land from the property owner and pay on a monthly basis that way. So they purchase the home, but they effectively don't own the land that their house is sitting upon. So it's very complicated in how this is going to be, and there's an awful lot of work that has to go into this yet. But as I said, he kind of contacted us reaching out like, is there any way we can try and work around what the state has placed on this right now, so the city could get around it and work with him to continue moving forward with this? Or is he going to have to continue trying to fight the state of Michigan to remove the implementations that were placed on the property for previous owners of the property's conduct?
So am I envisioning what they're thinking would be akin to like the park around the depot area? Are those the same type of homes we're talking about, or are we talking more like what you see at like Mitchell Brothers out in the township, or are these the type of modular homes that are stick built indoor and they haul them in and set them on a foundation?
No, they are not those type of modular homes, Tim. They're not the prefabricated homes where, like you said, they build them in sections in a warehouse and then truck them on site, and they don't look any different from a site-built home once they're put together. These are assembled in pieces, but effectively, from what I get, they are similar to like a traditional mobile home or modular home type construction, but built in pieces.
Okay. George, I don't mean to put you on the hook here, but with city council's directive of looking for housing on a certain price range, and the fact that Sherman Hills originally was intended to be more of a upscale waterfront development, this is a big chunk of property. It is by the college. Seems like it'd be a good opportunity for some residential units.
Yeah, I agree. And I was not familiar with the original PUD for Sherman Hills, so I can't visualize it in my head. I hate for us to give the blessing for the idea, and then when we see the site plan, we say, well, no, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And then we, have an issue with it. And then the developer is upset because, he went forward based on what he thought we were going. So with just a half a page of a description and what Brad has said, it's really hard for me to say, oh yeah, that sounds good. But yeah, I mean, it is one of the city's priorities is to find some additional housing and add to the housing stock in the city. So, I mean, I'm all for that. I just don't know if this is going to fit the bill.
So I think this commission reviewing the ordinance we have in place where we're talking about whether to add the yurt maybe to it or not. I think it also talks about this type of housing that's being discussed. So I think refreshing ourselves with that ordinance language would be helpful to furthering any further discussion on this topic. Mike, you have your
I
hand up?
agree. I do. I agree with you, Tim. I think it calls for a lot more discussion on a couple points. Part of our master plan language calls for us to integrate affordable housing within our neighborhoods. I would hate to have an encampment of low-priced housing. So that would have to be discussed in terms of our land use. But a bigger issue for me, a question for me is, it concerns me when I hear it, and maybe I'm hearing wrong, but are we being asked to partner with this person to get around the state? I mean, isn't there another option that we could be an advocate to the state for this gentleman? I would have a.
Yeah, I think what he's asking, Mike, not necessarily is, I mean, yeah, I get where you're saying that. It seems like he's saying, hey, city, come bail me out so I don't have to deal with the state of Michigan. I think it's that. I think what his idea is that since he's having to redo this anyways, and reintroduce this PUD, if city council looks at this and says, well, back in 2003 when we did this,
Right.
we had a setback of 25 feet. So you're coming to us now with a setback of 15 feet or whatever. Why did you do that? I think, he's trying to figure out if that's something that we as gonna, nope, it's 25 feet and that's all we're gonna accept. Therefore, he would have to go through the state to do so. So, and to answer George's question, I have, because this, unfortunately, we don't have lots of digital files on this yet because it was before we had all that scanned into the system. I have like literally boxes piled in the office there at City Hall that unfortunately aren't even in chronological order of how this goes. But I have lots and lots of plans there that are all the different types of designs of this. And I can put something together just to kind of, in maybe next month's packet, just to give you a brief idea to refresh your memory of what this looked like and what it was originally proposed as. So you can get kind of that bird's eye view of what the initial idea was down there and possibly what he's doing. He has supplied Travis and myself with a preliminary concept site plan with his reduced number of sites and new setbacks and things like that. So are lots of extra things that I did request from him, but just so you all are aware, this gentleman, he's somebody that, he's one of those businessmen that approach you and acts like everything has to be done tomorrow morning. And you speak with him and you try and, give him that phone call back and leave a voicemail, and then you don't hear from him again for another 3 or 4 months. So I never know with him if this is just something that I'm going to reach out to him and say, hey, planning commission's willing to work with you, and he'll jump right back in the seat, or if it's something that, we're never going to hear from him for another 3 or 4 months. So.
Yeah, and again, I don't want my points to water that down, because those of us that have lived here a fair amount of time know the history of that place, and I would love to see that come back to life and do something with that property. So I'd love to look at anything he's got that may make that vision come alive again.
Yep. And I was on city council when that project started to be developed, and I guess the shorthand version is it's a big project area. I mean, that's a wonderful piece of property, where it's located and on the river. And instead of doing a phased development, they decided the developer wanted to put all the infrastructure in right off the bat and get all the lots ready. And would have been better to do a portion of it and keep adding on. And that's what sunk that development. So, all right. So I think,
I guess from my perspective, he's got, if you go to the Greenleaf Properties, site, I did that earlier, he does kind of have something that's in between, a trailer park and a traditional type of neighborhood, and it does provide a different product. And if it's being marketed toward full-time, long-term type residents who need something in between, I think we should, I think we should really look at this seriously if he's serious as another product in the entire portfolio of housing in South Haven. Because Lord knows if I look at everybody here in the room, we've got people who live in duplexes and big condominiums and single family homes and are renters. So that's kind of what we're looking for in a community.
Mhm. Okay, what
John?
else? Yeah, Larry.
I think this is another good opportunity, just like looking at yurt villages for recreational use, to do a little planning instead of always doing zoning.
All right.
A new concept. Let's look at this and see if it isn't something we can work with and come up with something new.
Yep. Maybe even put yurts there. Okay,
Who knows
so-
what the possibilities are?
All right, so I see we have a person from the public with their hand up, so I'll take any public comments at this time, and Lisa, if you'll unmute.
Yes, I just had one question. How big is the property that you guys are talking about? How many acres is it?
It's gotta be at least 30, isn't it, Brad?
Oh, it's even larger than that, I think, Tim. I think it's closer to 50 acres.
50 acres.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a good half of it, or a good third of it is practically unusable because it's, all in the water, especially when the water came up so high. But no, it's kind of tucked off there in the corner over by the college. And yeah, I think it's about 40 or 50 acres.
And he's talking about putting 130 units in, is that correct?
Yes, that's what his most recent proposal is.
There'd be pretty good spaced out then. Okay, thanks. That was my question.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Is there anybody else from the public? No.
I don't see any. No.
So is there anything else you need from the commission at this time?
No, we just kind of wanted to just to get the ball rolling, letting you know that, that he reached out to us at the city and that it may be something that's popping back up on the radar. And we just wanted to, keep you all informed that, hey, Sherman Hills might end up rolling into City Hall once again, and that, be prepared for something.
Yeah, okay. If memory serves me right, that property, the city also had to do some annexations too.
Yeah, I believe so.
It was a lot of work. Okay. So that's it for item 10 under new business, unless you have anything else. And then next up, we'll go to staff comments.
Only real comments tonight are, this is something, Tim, that I discussed with you, I think, last week. So the chair has expressed an interest in having the city's assessor discuss with the planning commission exactly how property valuations are arrived at and how taxable values are arrived at. I think, and Tim, you might be able to speak a little more kind of to what you're.
Yeah, basically, I want to have a workshop with the commission that's, no more than an hour. And we'll get it like a 30-minute presentation and then 30 minutes of Q&A. And I'd like the assessor to talk about how properties are valued, what affects the values and, tax rates. I think it'd just be a good primer with some of the projects that have come our way in the past and will be coming our way in the future to better be able to analyze in your mind how certain things affect other properties. So how one property affects another property value and that kind of thing. So about that simple, just a little primer. So with that, I guess, Travis, what we'd be looking at is setting a date for the workshop if the commission's interested. And I don't know when the presentation would be ready. but maybe next week.
I think next week would work. I spoke with Michelle about it last week. And she seemed to feel like she could put together a presentation. And so I think by next week, I would think
Okay.
we'd be ready.
So maybe, I don't know, how's your guys' Thursday night next week looking? It'd be the 13th.
I'm not free until at least 7. If we're gonna do 7 again would be great.
Okay,
7's fine.
7's fine.
Is there going to be a quiz at the end?
I will write one up specifically for you, Clark.
Thank you. No, I can make the 13th.
Okay.
And I think this is an awesome thing to understand, because there's a lot of thought there. It's been a long time since Headley was up and what that means. So I think that would be beneficial. Thank you for that idea.
Okay, so the 13th it is, and basically pencil in from 7 to 8. I don't want to keep you any longer than that. It's not intended to be a real long event. Just a basic primer to refresh everybody's memory of how the tax system works and property values. Okay. What else,
Sounds good.
Travis?
Other than that, just wanted to keep it at the front of all of your minds. I talked about training opportunities last month. We lining that up. You should be seeing some emails here, hopefully in the next week. My understanding of it is that they're going to send me, I believe it's just going to be a series, probably a PDF documents, and then probably a link to a video presentation. So just keep an eye on your mailboxes here next week or so. And I should be starting to distribute some of that for everyone.
Okay.
Other than that, those are my.
All right. Brad, do you have anything?
No,
No?
not today.
I see Griffin's here. Griffin, do you have anything?
I do have a quick comment, or if anything, a quick acknowledgement. First, good evening, everyone. Great meeting. I know we recognized Travis a little bit at the end of last month's meeting, but I just wanted to highlight for the group that in the last month, Travis completed his Michigan State Extension Zoning Administrator Certificate, which is a really big deal for us at the city. As you know, Travis has been working really hard to pick up his new role. So I wanted to give him a quick shout out in front of all of you tonight, just to highlight that new certification that Travis got.
Okay. Now, Travis, I expect that certificate to be in a frame behind you on the wall so we can see it, so we know how official you are.
But will do. I've realized when I look around, and I've never been one to really decorate an office much, but that I don't think I have any of my degrees or certificates or anything hanging up. So maybe it's about time.
Yeah, gotta put the sheepskins up. Okay, now we'll go to commission comments, and as usual, I'll look at my screen and left to right and up to down. And Mike, you're in my Brady Bunch to my right, so any comments?
I'll make this really quick. I have a recommendation for the Planning Commission Summer Book Club. If you're interested in something and such things, there's a wonderful book called Missing Middle Housing that's written by Daniel Paralek. It's kind of the Bible of missing middle, and it really opened my eyes. It's, we've been kind of using missing middle synonymous with workforce housing and affordable housing. It's something entirely different than that. And Larry, to your credit, in my reading that book, I have to look back at your wisdom. At one point, you talked about the density we needed in our residential neighborhoods. And that's exactly what the missing middle housing addresses. So you taught me, and it was affirmed it's a great book. So if you get a chance, I'll send it along to you.
Mike didn't believe you, Larry, till he read it in a book.
I believed him, Tim. I just didn't want, a triplex next to my house. But once you understand, really, the book was written for city planners and land use. And once they talked about the concept of walkable neighborhoods And with all the others, infrastructure that would go into it, sounded like a pretty cool neighborhood to live in.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike.
You bet.
All right, Larry.
Well, thank you, Mike. I'm glad to know I'm right once in a while, even if it's belated. No, I have no further comments tonight.
Okay, thank you, Larry. George?
Tim, I mentioned this at City Council, but I got an email from the Michigan Association of Planning on House Bill 4722. It's basically an attempt to for the state to I guess enact a law that would disallow municipalities' ability to regulate short-term rentals. And so I know we in the Planning Commission and City Council have worked hard on our short-term rental ordinance. I think it's a pretty good thing, but I'd hate for us to lose that ability to be able to do that. It makes something that works for our community, and that's in the Committee on Commerce and Tourism right now. It's just been introduced, so that's all.
Okay, thanks, George. I will check that one off my list. Thank you for, you got ahead of me. All right, Clark.
Just again, thank staff for all the hard work that they put in tonight's meeting, and look forward to next week. Thank you.
Okay. Janice?
Yes, I would like to thank the public for joining in the conversation today. I think it's very enlightening when we hear from citizens in our community, and I encourage folks to continue to participate in these meetings and add their comments. I also want to recognize the artist who did our beach stickers. I have one right here. I think they did an awesome job. When I opened my envelope inside, I thought, yeah, and it's the blue steps. This is so cool. So that's it.
Okay. Amy?
I too was excited by the blue stairs, Janice. That's very cool. My kudos go A to staff and B to Travis especially, because he is the fastest emailer I have ever known. You ask a question and boom, he's on it. So good job, Travis. You must be a very quick typist.
He's probably running the vocal transcription program. You just talk and it types for you.
I'm going to learn how to do that because you know, that's pretty quick.
Okay. And then for me, George already said the one item I was going to talk about, and then what else was there? I had something else, but yeah, doesn't matter right now. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
This is Clark. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
This is Nice. I second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Clark, supported by Nice to adjourn the May 6, 2021 regular planning commission meeting. And Marcia, if you'll call the roll for the last time this evening.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heineck,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next week.
Happy anniversary.
Good night. Thank you.